real quickly, I was 3 years old when I started singing in church. My dad, the first song that he ever taught me was a song that went like this. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Those words, you know, if we look at them from, you walk through any high school or college in America, you say, Jesus loves you, doesn't know. Why? Because the Bible tells us, they'll say, you're crazy. How in the world? We got to a place in our society, we got to scientifically dissect everything about everything. But I think sometimes need to be left to faith. And faith in Jesus, what our feelings are. And, you know, when I came to know Christ back in the early 70s, right about 1970, I'm not questioning anything since that. Everything has not been perfect since that time. There's been a lot of things that haven't gone exactly the way that I wanted to go, but sometimes I found out that wasn't exactly the way God wanted it to go. So I accept it now by faith. Jesus loves me. This I know why the Bible tells me so. That's all I got to think. And then I'll let everything else take care of itself. And if we go a little too deep into this technology and into this brain thing, we might skip over some of the best blessings that we can ever have in our life. Really. So I just, you know, at that time, that's what my dad taught me to sing. Jesus loved me, this I know, why the Bible tells me so, and I accepted that. But when I got a little older, I started questioning things. Same way that some of you young people are. 13 years old, I took my first drink of alcohol. Didn't think much about it. Well, I did think a lot about it because I wasn't raised in a home that had alcohol in the cupboards and cases of beer in the refrigerator. I was raised in a home. My mom and Dad loved God, and they were God-fearing people, and they figured that I had a talent because I was been singing all my life and sung in church and everything, and they wanted me to use that talent for God. But at 13 years old, Satan figured that he would lead me into another different direction and try to get me using whatever talent God had given me for his cause. It was a junior high school party that we had, and it was at somebody else's house, and Mom and Dad had left for that night, and we found some beer in the refrigerator, and I had a couple cans of it. I never drank any alcohol in my life. I got to acting kind of weird. I thought, wow, this feels pretty good. You know, my friends think I'm doing some cool stuff. And I never realized what Satan can take and so fast bring you to another world. 13 years old, a couple cans of beer. 21 years old, a full-fledged alcoholic. And all in the meantime, there was a lot of other things that took its course in there. 16 years old, I was out of school for my 11th year. Eddie and I were closest of friends. He just got a new automobile. His mom and dad were pretty well off. Mine weren't quite that well off. So, but we got excited because whatever he got was usually considered mine too. We were just together. I mean, I never had a closer friend, Eddie. I met him when I was in about 3rd grade, and now we were in the 11th grade, getting out of the 11th grade and going into 12th. Seniors, excited. We planned a party, and we'd planned it a little differently because this was going to be a big one. We'd invited about 75 friends, and I was raised in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's where I was living. About 2 miles from the beach. A lot of our parties went on down at the beach. There weren't a lot of high rises at that time, so we had a lot of open area to do things. We were going to either do this at the beach or out in maybe around a quarry, and we just hadn't figured out where we were going to do it. But we told everybody to bring their own booze or drugs, whatever they were going to do for the weekend. And we were going to kind of camp out, stay, do these things. There would be parties going on all over Fort Lauderdale in South Florida that weekend because school was out. Eddie's mom and dad came to us about 2 weeks before school was out and said, "We know you guys are having a party. Now we're going to let you have the house for the weekend. We're going to leave Friday afternoon, and we just want you to take care of things. We're going to be back on Sunday." So we invited about 75 more friends. That afternoon, Friday afternoon, after we got our report cards that day, I'll never forget the car that backed up to Eddie's house. Bottom floor, there was 3 stories to his home. And we had a place where we were stacking the beer, booze, drugs, whatever was coming in. And we had a refrigerator downstairs, and we were just going to stockpile it. That particular car that backed up, the trunk lid came up, and there was about 4 cases of Budweiser in there and a case of Old Granddad's fifths of whiskey. We took it on his side. More would arrive a little later, and as the afternoon went on, and we were standing there, we were all getting high and drinking and everything, and nobody was chaperoning this party. About 6 o'clock at night, we got some beer in the trunk of Eddie's car and went down to the beach, crashed a couple parties down there, and then a couple of homes that we knew that some parties were going on, friends. And then we got back to our own about 10:30 that night, and the 3rd floor of Eddie's house in the spacious living room, Eddie was standing in the middle. We were all high, just kind of out of it. And someone walked over and had brought a fifth of that Old Granddad, broke the seal, fresh fifth, walked into the middle of the crowd, placed it in Eddie's hands. And Eddie took the bottle and held it out, and everybody kind of took a step back. And before we could even dare him, he turned the bottle up and chugged up it. Completely finished it. Oh, wow, man. That takes a man to do that. We were 16. A few minutes later, Eddie fell flat of his face in the middle of the floor. We rolled him over, and his eyes were closed, but I lifted his eyelids up, and everything was white. He was unconscious, in other words. Saliva running down his cheeks. He was breathing weird. Somebody said, "He's out of it. So let's put him," somebody run a tub full of cold water, and let's let him lay in it a while. It'll sober him up. The party, it's young. It's Friday night, and we're going to Sunday. So the tub was run full of water, and Eddie was put in it, and that didn't work a whole lot. The water slapping up in his face, and it just didn't, he was still unconscious. Listen, someone else had the right idea. Let's put him in bed, let him sleep it off. Party went on. The wee hours in the morning, Saturday morning, 2 carloads of our friends arrived from Orlando. I was standing out in the front lawn, all between a drug stupor and a drunken stupor. I don't know. I was just standing there, and when they arrived, I remember somebody coming out of the front door, screaming what they'd found in Eddie's room. Young people, I was 16, Eddie was 16, but I'd lost my closest friend. He had been dead for 3 or 4 hours. All because of a stupid dare.